We're here.
I wish I could give you this feeling. I wish I could give you this feeling. On the corner.
What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Corner Podcast. Kel Dansby here with the old man Andreas and Kel. San Francisco 49ers out. And you guys know he'll be like this every single show. If you listened to the show earlier this week, we are coming at you guys from Blue Wire Studios here in the Wynn Resort in Las Vegas. Dre, we were talking MMA today, but it seems like compared to all the other combat sports, we haven't talked MMA in a second. It's just been quiet since the pay-per-view. It's quiet out here for MMA. What we do have, though, is some dope content up on our Patreon. So if you guys haven't subscribed to that, please go and check that out right after you're done listening to this MMA show. $5 get you into the Corner Club tier. You guys get exclusive episodes every week. You get to see the video of every podcast we do. Every single one is up there. You see our pretty faces. Shout out to everyone in the booth, making sure we stay that way. And then on the $10 tier, you guys get the opportunity to be on our Corner Club fan show every single month, which we're recording next week. So I'll be doing that next Thursday, even though it's Super Bowl week here in Vegas. I'll take the time out, make sure you guys are able to jump on the show. We'll talk about whatever topics you want for being in that $10 tier. So we really, really appreciate you guys' support. It's popping already on there. A lot of people signed up. I'm shocked. Usually it's the old man who's shocked and pessimistic. So it's great to see the amount of people who have already followed, who are enjoying the content, who are commenting, liking the videos, everything up on there. If you haven't, $5, less than anything you can get at McDonald's nowadays. Make a sandwich at home, and trust me, spend that extra bread, show support to your boys. It is really, really fun up there. We have a hip-hop show that we just recorded and put up there this week. That was really cool, talking about Nicki, talking about the beefs and what it means in hip-hop and the Lovers and Friends Festival. That's really cool. Social clips bombarding you guys all the time, so you guys get little peeks into what we do on Patreon. But again, thank you for showing your support on there. Dre, this one is free for the peoples. It is MMA. And Dana White and the UFC are as quiet as I've seen them in a long time. And I can't really figure out why. I'm trying to put my finger on it, of when it kind of changed. Stuff has been different recently. Dana breaking all these fights on like his own Twitter and Instagram takes a lot away from the presentation of MMA and the UFC specifically for me. It just felt better and different when Ariel was breaking news. Yeah. And people were scooping stuff, or ESPN with Brett Okamoto would break news or something like that. Like, it's a little bit too in-house now. And there's like nothing special that like hypes me up. And the fights are good, but it's not like we have Conor McGregor at the moment or anything like that to really get you excited.
Yeah, it's an interesting time. I mean, I guess where I'd like to start is the news. Today's Thursday, so by the time you guys hear it, you'll know exactly the process. Dustin Poirier was booked to fight Benoit Saint Denis.
Yeah.
Poirier was like, I ain't booked that shit. Fight's off. Fight ain't happening. And then I guess a few hours later, it's like, all right, my manager figured it out. Fight's on.
Manager found a couple more coins in the purse.
I promise that, like, we know what happened. The UFC prematurely jumped the gun. Sure. UFC said, oh, we can get this fight booked. Poirier and his people, Poirier specifically, was like, why are we going to fight this dude? Because if we win, we get nothing out of it. So I need some more money.
Yep.
And they probably they was like, Dana, 5 rounds. It's not even a main event, it's a 5-round fight. And I'm sure Poirier's team was like, no, man, we're not going to fight some dude that you guys are trying to build off of Dustin's name for like some pennies. No. So I'm sure they haggle for that. But it feels like the UFC's trying to control the narrative of all the fights getting announced. We're still waiting for the UFC 300 main event, and we'll discuss that because I'm.
What's your pick there?
Well, I honestly don't know. Like, I feel like it has to be Duplessis and Adesanya. I can't think of another fight that would main event that card over a fake title.
Over a fake title.
I'm just being honest. Gaethje and Holloway's the main event right now.
Yeah.
Like you pick any other fight on that, like any other championship fight on that card, it ain't the main event.
No, it has to kind of be Conor.
I don't think it's going to be Conor. I'm almost convinced that we're getting to a point where Conor might not fight again.
Like at all.
But I said this before.
Yeah.
I don't believe like Conor wants to fight, but Conor knows what he's worth, and it's the UFC's worst nightmare. Like, no matter what they say, we'll give you 20. And Conor's like, no, I should get 60.
Yeah.
And it's a bad precedent because the UFC don't pay nobody that kind of money. And I believe Conor wanted to fight at 300. And they pushed him to International Fight Week. And Conor's like, I don't want to fight on International Fight Week. I don't care. Like, I want to fight here. I don't think it'll be Conor. It could be. It could be him and Chandler. But then you have a whole nother dilemma in the sense that, all right, well, that's got to be the main event, right?
Of course.
Ain't no title in that fight. And your second fight's for a BMF fight title, and then your third fight is for an actual title.
Yeah.
The women's strawweight title.
That'd be fine with me. But what do you think about the people saying that if Conor fights Chandler, that's where Dana finally takes the leap and redoes the divisions?
No.
Everyone, that's like the conspiracy theory online, the Reddit MMA community, where they're like, yo, it's going to be Conor versus Chandler, and they're going to change 170 to 175 and make a belt at 165, and the winner of Conor and Chandler is going to be champion at 165, and that's how you get a title, main eventing UFC 300.
Let me be very clear about something.
That's a great idea in like normal aspects, by the way. They should have been done that, but whatever.
Right. They don't want to make another Conor McGregor, and they're having a hard enough time with the one that they do have. If you allow Conor McGregor to reshape weight classes, you're creating an even bigger monster, right? The dickhead Kanye West once said, no one man should have all that power. Conor's got too much power. If you create a weight division for that man to get a title, you can't tell him shit.
I mean, they created 145 before.
I mean, but 145 was
For like the women, they've created 140. They've created literal divisions that had no rankings, no nothing, so people can have a title.
But you were
and they weren't Conor McGregor.
But you were creating a weight class that existed in other promotions. This weight class doesn't exist at all.
No.
So if you're
everyone takes that weird ass jump.
Yeah, it's 45, 55, 70, 85. It's like the weight classes are crazy. They should have restructured this, but they won't allow Conor to be the reason why they make a new weight class. That's because now you have to reshape everything. Because if you do a 65, then what do you do? 65, 75, 85?
Yeah.
So if you do 65, 75,
Leon
85,
becomes the 75 champion automatically. You move him up, and those rankings stay the same for 75. And you say if you're at 70 or if you're at 55, we'll let you compete at 65 if you want.
There's no way you can, again, it can't be because of Conor. It has to be a UFC decision. It can't be a Conor McGregor decision. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think the UFC wants another Conor McGregor problem. I think they've realized very quickly that Conor McGregor being in the UFC has been to their detriment. Like, he was great when they sold the company for $4 billion.
I was going to say he was great when they needed him to be great.
Yeah,
but they got the bag.
But they've purposefully shifted away from creating stars and just creating fights. Like, dude, we just watched a fucking fight card with Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis and Raquel Pennington versus Mayra Buena Silva. Who gives a fuck about them? Like, the UFC clearly doesn't care about building stars. They just want you to watch fights.
Yeah. And they have a fan base that'll buy pay-per-views, and they're trained to buy.
Yeah, and who's the biggest star in the UFC? It's Dana White. Yeah. So you can't give Conor that kind of leverage, man. You can't tell him, oh, we created a weight class, and he'll be like, you fucking created it for me, ha ha ha, Lucky Charms, and all that bullshit. And then he may not still fight.
Oh, there's no guarantee Conor shows up to fight week.
At all. And then, bro.
My biggest problem is there's no guarantee Conor makes 165.
There's so many
Even if
things.
you create the division for him, 165 is still a cut for the current iteration of Conor McGregor, who looks about 185.
Hey.
I'm not watching that Roadhouse movie, but in that movie, he at least $2 bills.
I'm watching the Roadhouse movie.
Are you watching? I'm not watching.
It's free. It's on Prime. Of course I'm watching it. I got to see Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor go at it.
I saw him when they recorded it.
I know. We was there.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it. But that's my point. It's like, yo, he overshadows the UFC, and that's not what the UFC needs right now. Like, they don't want stars.
They need stars.
They don't.
They're
don't.
better with stars.
To who?
To I understand they got a bag. I don't know how. I'm not positive. I think they're renegotiating their television rights contract, which would mean that, all right, cool, they're doing what they can and the numbers have to be there to secure the money they want. But I think they're probably going to get the money they want anyway.
Yeah.
But when you have stars and you continue to negotiate in future, you want to build new fans. Because right now they're living off of the 20-year-olds from the year 2005.
Yeah.
And now we're at damn near 2025, 2024. And those people are mid-40s and still buying pay-per-views.
Still broing it up.
Broing it up. So your fan base now is 45 through 55 of hardcore fans.
Mm-hmm.
And that was great. And you're in the same place boxing was in like 1990. Whereas like Tyson could still sell. You went through the 80s and those people were still diehards and stuff was great. They saw the shit in the 70s because they were like 20 and they romanticized all that. And the 90s are cool and they'll spend their money and you have pay-per-view, Tyson, De La Hoya, blah, blah. And then next thing you know, they're 55, 65 and they stop buying your shit. And you're like, yo, our fan base is old. How do we get new fans? And you're in a pickle because you haven't built them for 20 years because you didn't want star power. You didn't want to put people on Twitch and streaming, which O'Malley does a great job of, and Adesanya do a great job of, but kind of for themselves.
Yeah.
So if they got a boxing bag, they're leaving tomorrow. Mm-hmm. They're building themselves, not necessarily building the UFC. The UFC needs a star. People say whatever they want for Conor McGregor. He was malcontent. He was doing wild shit, all this stuff. But at least he really never made it about him until the fight with Floyd Mayweather. Then it was, I have a liquor. Then I have to be a partner. Then I want stakes in this company. Then he got the proper logo on the canvas. He did a lot of shit for himself after that. When he was a star on the rise, it was all about UFC.
No, he wasn't. Did the Alvarez fight, showing up like an hour late in the Mink, in the Joe Frazier.
But that made people wait on the UFC stream. It's not like he was doing this outside of.
I get what you're
everything
saying.
he was doing was built to bring eyes to the company. It was always talking about Aldo
I will disagree
and going
with
to
that.
his favela. And he was always about UFC.
He was not about UFC. I think what Conor McGregor strategically did, which I think is the smartest thing that he could have done, was he played ball, right? Early on, he was like, yo, you need somebody to fight? I'll fight. All right, cool, I'll fight in Boston. Oh, 50 G's, Dana, 50 G's. Yeah. I'll fight Poirier. He didn't bicker, he didn't complain. He was like, I need more money to fight Chad Mendes. He's like, nah, he believed in himself, much to Conor's credit, because other fighters wouldn't have done that. Once he knocked out Chad Mendes, once he knocked out Jose Aldo, he was like, oh, fuck this place. Like, from that point on, it was like, how do I make me bigger? Yep. And some people call it selfish. I think it was the right business decision because he was a bona fide star after he knocked out Jose Aldo. He immediately said, oh, I want to move up a weight class. But what did he do? He lost.
Yep.
People forget this shit. Like, he straight up lost because he was supposed to fight Rafael Dos Anjos. And he ended up fighting Nate Diaz, and he got choked out.
5 days notice.
Yeah.
That was the best thing that could have happened to him.
I don't even know if it was I don't know what it was, but
it made him an underdog when he had no characteristics of being an underdog.
Yeah, it was just one of those things, but he decided, he made a very smart decision, like, I'm going into business for myself. Yeah. Fuck this company, right? Like, I think the day he got choked out by Nate Diaz, he learned, he was like, oh, fuck them. It's about me. So I think the Eddie Alvarez fight clearly was about him because he shouldn't have been fighting for a lightweight title after all that shit, but he did, right? Like, he wanted, I'm going to fight 3 divisions. He wants to do whatever he wants. He made a business decision that broke the system, and the UFC, Dana being blinded by all the money that Conor was bringing in, he allowed him to box. It was the worst decision Dana could have made. Dana allowed that man to box, and then everybody was like, there's a lot of money over there. Right?
Tons.
You don't show slaves food, right? Like, you don't show them a full meal and say, oh, it's at the restaurant next door. All you gotta do is go next door and order that. I can order that? Yeah. But Conor can, you can't. Motherfuckers would be like, mutiny, bitch. Like, we're gonna do this. So Nate, Masvidal, like, they all have now departed, in Ngannou, all because Conor realized there was food across the street and he was like, I'm gonna go get that food. It was not about the UFC at that point. He was building him in the company because he was the early versions of Conor McGregor was a very I don't want to call him modest, but he was very rational and reasonable.
Yeah.
Right? Like he was very much like, oh, I got to do what it takes to become a star. I gotta fight everybody. I'll fight anytime. I don't care who they line them up. I'll knock them down. And I remember that one time I interviewed him. I think we're at the UFC office, and he was like, it was one of the most interesting things about Conor. I was like, this dude's nuts. He was like, I make the money and then I spend the money.
I love him telling that story.
Yeah, and he was like, so I need to make more money. And I was like, he's a sociopath. Does anybody see this?
I love that way of thinking.
Yeah,
He would spend everything between fights.
That's ridiculous.
So he had the hunger for the next fight.
But now
he dead broke.
Now he can't spend the money.
No, he got too much money.
He can't give the shit away.
Yeah.
Like he's like, I'm trying to give this money away so I could be hungry again, but no, you can't do it. You're living a different life. So all that to say, I don't see Conor headlining 300. I just don't. I'm sure there's a conversation between like Dana White and maybe Ari Emanuel is like, yo, just give him what he wants. And Dana's like, I can't. Because if I give him what he wants, everybody's going to ask for more. How about we find somebody else? Because I think the UFC knows 300 is really just a number. We expect it to sell.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, we ain't releasing pay-per-view numbers anyway.
No, it's just when you're at the point and you're at the bargaining table, you want to put your best foot forward.
But who you bargaining with? Yourself?
No, when you're looking for a rights deal. I think all of these combat sports rights deals are pretty much between last summer and this upcoming summer. Everyone's deal went up. So you're not bargaining against yourself, but if you look at a place like Amazon, who just went and got PBC,
yeah,
you're just like, all right, shit, do y'all got more money? Like, I need to barter something against ESPN to make the money we want to make. And now Netflix is in the game. Mm-hmm. So now it's like, okay, cool. Like, that's another thing. Like, they already worked with the WWE. They've worked with us at Endeavor. Okay, now I can go over there and be like, yo, ESPN, we need this. Or we're going that way. But to get that offer and everything, people would kid themselves if they didn't think CM Punk made a huge difference on the Netflix deal. On Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, even Cena and The Rock coming back during the actors strike helped a ton for that rights deal. Because it was like, listen, we'll always have stars that can come back, that can compete. You never know. And look, they just did. Look how our numbers went up. And then you go and Netflix is like, you're right. All right, here's this bag. And then everyone follows suit. So ESPN, I'm assuming, wants to keep UFC. They do a great job there. It seems like a great partnership. But the UFC is not done. Like, to get the money they want in the long run and to be able to run fights without paying people a ton and building stars, right at that moment when you know you got to sign a new deal, you got to go balls to the wall. There's a very specific reason why that Miami card is stacked. Dana didn't do this shit out of the goodness of his heart. We're going to see a playoff-style push March, April, May out of this company so they get the money they want in June. So June's not going to be a bad pay-per-view either. July is going to be stacked because they understand these 5 pay-per-views are the most important in the past 5 years because it's going to tip maybe $500 million at the overall per year. Like 500, it's the difference of $500 million a year on a 10-year contract, which is a lot.
True.
So they gotta make this push. And if you have Conor on the hook at all and willing to let him fight, this is when he fights. You use him when you need him. And if he's gone after July, who cares?
I think that's what the UFC doesn't want. It's a shadow number, right? Because Conor's fighting, he's not reliable. And then no network can go, well, when's he going to fight again? He's not guaranteed to fight 3 times in 5 years, right? The UFC's it's a content machine. They have multiple fights. Dude, like, look at 300. Yep. There's like 7 former champions on that card, right?
Yep.
In any other in any other combat sport, in boxing, that could never happen.
No.
There's never going to be a card with 7 champions on the card. Like Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, Weili Zhang. Justin Gaethje is an interim champion at that.
Yeah. Well, he's the BMF champion, so don't disrespect him.
Aljamain Sterling, Davidson Figueiredo, Cody Garbrandt, Holly Holm,
Yuri Prohaska. Sterling. You put Bo Nickel on there, who's just an amazing prospect. I understand he's not a champion. Jessica Andrade.
Former champion.
Yeah.
Like, there's like 7 champions on that card, and they can afford to make that card happen because those 7 champions ain't asking for shit.
No.
If Conor comes in and was like, I want $60 million, just like, I mean, it's no secret. It's kind of what ruined boxing over the years.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have the budget to pay everybody, so they get these cheap-ass fights on the undercard, whereas in MMA, they was like, let's just make everybody cheap.
Yep.
So I don't think 300 is like necessarily concerned about the headliner. We are more than they are. They are a content machine. They think, I think
Dana's thinking a lot like you, and I think Ari and Endeavor might be thinking a lot like we just did this for WWE. We stacked the deck. We spent some dough.
It's true, but WWE is a star-based business. Like, pro wrestling is built on stars.
Yeah.
The UFC has turned it to be built on fights. It's not built on stars.
I get you. That's tough because you're
Who's
telling
fighting this weekend?
No, I understand that.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, like, you're telling, especially for a pay-per-view, you're telling a guy like Ari Emanuel, whose entire career and legacy is building stars, managing stars, that in this company, stars don't matter.
It don't.
It's just, that's probably, like, you're probably looking at you like, stars matter everywhere, bro.
They don't.
If we still had Francis Ngannou right now, we'd be printing money.
But there's a reason why they don't.
And we had to pay him was like $8 million.
They don't want him. Like, Dana White, for better or worse, the UFC has their productions in-house. Like, that's not ESPN production.
No.
That's UFC production.
Just pull the feeds, sir.
Yeah, that's it. Like, it's all Dana White's business. And as much as somebody could say, oh, yeah, well, you need it for – you don't. The company just went on without him.
Yep.
Conor McGregor's been gone. Has anybody really noticed?
I mean, I think there's a litany of people who are just Conor McGregor fans who have surely noticed.
But
if he comes back, you will watch the wave of people who come out to watch that shit.
But the ends don't justify the means, right? So it's like, if an average pay-per-view, which we don't know what the numbers are, let's just assume 297 did 400,000 buys.
Sure.
And that's a cheap-ass card.
Yeah.
Right?
And that'd be championed in boxing.
Yeah. But if it did 400,000 buys, if Conor McGregor fights, how many pay-per-view buys do you think he does?
1.3?
It's 3 times as much, right?
Yeah.
But he's going to ask for 10 times more.
At least.
Than one fighter.
Yeah.
Which will be like 15 times more than the entire card.
I'd be shocked if they paid the entire card at 297, $3 million.
So, and Conor's going to ask for what, 25? 30?
On return?
Yeah.
Oh, he's getting 40.
$40 million.
40.
So $40 million for just a...
Yeah, that's 10 times. Yeah, you're at 13 times.
So for a 300% increase, you're going to ask for a 1,000% increase in salary?
One guy is going to cost you 13 times more than the entire card.
And smart business says that's not a good idea.
That's fair.
And I think that's what Dana's established. Dana, I'm not like Dana.
Smart business by him.
It is. Look, man, we can talk about Dana, and I'm going to talk about, I don't know if you saw the Pablo Torre and Ariel Helwani interview.
I saw you drop the link. I haven't watched it.
Boy, it's good. It's real. Like, Pablo Torre does an exceptional job.
Like you just talked about that same topic, though. I looked at the headline.
I did. But they handled it different than I handled it. We'll talk about it in a second. So you can feel however you want to feel about Dana White. But in terms of business practice, and in terms of keeping costs low and realizing that, I don't need to do this, even though you should, because these people are putting their lives on the line and we're making money hand over fist. Yep. We're only paying our fighters like 17%. Where other companies are paying 35%, but these fighters are too dumb to unionize and figure it out. This is good business. This is a content churning machine. He ever since the pandemic, he established that.
Yep.
The pandemic was probably, we shitted on him for it because like, man, you're taking risks. Like, people are out here dying and you're just gonna have fights. And it worked out.
Yep.
He was the only show in town, and it didn't matter who was fighting because we had nothing else to watch.
True.
So he's established that. ESPN got their hooks in on it. Who's fighting this weekend? Roman Dolidze?
Yeah.
Like, bruh, But people are still gonna watch it because they're conditioned to watch these fights.
I'm gonna watch it.
Like I'm gonna watch it too. That's what I do.
Yeah.
But they have firmly established that it ain't about the fighters, it's about the fights. That's what Dana does, and it works. I don't like it, but for his bottom line, it's fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, it's not going to change on the overarching scale, but sooner or later, it doesn't hurt to have a star or two.
No,
There's a reason why they brought in Kayla Harris.
Well, but look, where do you think Kayla Harris is fighting on that card?
Oh, she on the free TV portion.
Like
That card is stacked.
Like this, but this is what I'm saying. So how much do you think they're paying her?
Oh, she's on a 50 and 50 if I got to guess.
It's probably more than that.
No, they were just like, yo, you just made $2 million.
Yeah, but it's probably more than 50 and 50. It's more than 50 and 50. But nevertheless, I'm
not sure how much they pay female fighters.
I would not say it's too much to stretch. She's going to get paid more than Calvin Kattar. She's going to get paid more than.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Is she going to get paid more than Aljo? He's a former champion. Like, he just had the title.
They disrespect Aljo a lot, probably.
They do. But Aljo let that shit happen. That's Aljo's fault. Love Aljo. If he's listening to the podcast, I know he's listened before. Love you, bro, but you made a bad decision.
Yeah.
Like, it was a piss poor decision. But Kayla Harris is fighting Holly Holm, who the 9 lives of Holly Holm is one of the most fascinating stories in MMA. She has one marquee win that happened 8 years ago. And now she gets to welcome Kayla Harris into the octagon.
She about to get wrapped up.
She's been
like
in
a pretzel.
three title fights. Three title fights. She's headlined 5 events. She's won like 2 fights. She hasn't won a title since she beat Ronda Rousey. She immediately got choked out by Miesha Tate in the next fight.
Yeah.
She
was
lost
dominating that fight too. It's a damn shame.
It is what it is. She lost to Cyborg. She lost to who am I missing?
Nunez.
Amanda Nunez. She's only beat like 2 or 3 people. She beat Raquel Pennington,
who's now a champion.
Who's now the champion. She lost to Mayra Bueno Silva.
Yet anything's possible, bro. She's a champion.
Like, she won the dude. Think about this. Holly Holm beat Ronda Rousey 8 years ago. She's gonna be in a bigger spot than Aljamain Sterling, who was just the fucking champion.
Yeah, but his wins were not that win.
I'm just saying.
Sometimes one win is all it takes.
I'm just saying. Buster Douglas knocked out Mike Tyson and got a video game, right? Then he got watched by Vander Holyfield, and the boxing world was like, all right, that's enough for you.
She's 100% Buster Douglas right now.
But Holly Holm's still here in marquee spots, whereas anybody else with that resume, the UFC probably would have cut him.
Yeah, that one win, though, allows her to be a name.
8 years ago. Who the fuck is asking for Holly Holm to main event anything?
You know what? She wins enough to stay around.
Who?
So
Betts Correa?
I'm pulling up her thing now. She knocked out Ronda at UFC 193.
193.
November 15, 2015. About to be 9 years.
107 UFC pay-per-views ago.
Man, we're old. Like I remember that like it was yesterday.
I know. I remember watching it.
So
then what'd she do?
Lost to Misha, technical submission. Lost to Shevchenko.
Yep.
Lost to Jermaine Durandame.
3 in a row.
3 in a row.
Usually 3 in a row is a death spell, but she's still here.
They ended up all being champions.
Yep.
So, sure. And then beat Betch Correa.
Who cares?
By a head kick.
Wasn't even ranked.
Lost to Cyborg.
Uh-huh.
In a title match. Betch Correa win, got her a title match.
Betch Correa win, got a title match. Think about that for a minute. The Betch Correa win, who Betch had beaten nobody, got her a title fight.
Yep.
And she went in there and shit the bed there. All
beat Megan Anderson.
Okay.
That got her a title match against Amanda Nunez at bantamweight. So she dropped back down. She gets a title match. Lost that. TKO by head kick. First round.
Yes,
that was dirty.
Nunez knocked her out.
Yep. Beat Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
Beat Irene Aldana. Caitlin Vieira beat her. Or she lost.
She lost Caitlin Vieira.
Yeah. Split decision. And just beat Yana Santos.
Yana Santos is also not ranked.
No. And then a no contest versus Bueno Silva.
Because Bueno Silva was taking ADHD medication and she popped for that. So that should have been a loss too because she got submitted.
Yep.
And now they book her in a marquee fight with
15 wins, 6 losses ain't bad. Like, if we're keeping it a buck, she got a better resume than like Jorge Masvidal did.
15 wins, 6 losses, but she started off 10-0.
Yeah.
What's her record since she beat Ronda?
That'd be 5-6.
It's not great. It's not great. But yet she's still in these spots. She's affordable. And they've been running this preacher's daughter shit into the ground. Like Holly should not be in this spot.
I mean, this pro wrestling, baby. You get someone with a name, she's not as threatening. You put over your new person.
Like
it's good business.
I'm just saying,
I
it's
like
crazy.
that matchmaking.
It's crazy. But you look at 300, and you look at this lineup of fights. That's why I'm like, I don't think it matters who the main event is. Like, they don't care. The only thing that matters is like how it looks to other fighters. Because I'm just like, bro, if the BMF title is the main event, the fuck am I fighting for any other title for?
That's a good question.
Like if the BMF, if Gaethje and Holloway fight in the main event, because it's guaranteed to be up higher than.
Didn't Gaethje just main event with the BMF title though? Salt Lake.
Well, he beat Dustin Poirier for the BMF title.
Yeah, that was the main
But
event.
there was no
Salt
other
Lake.
titles on that card.
Okay.
This is 300.
Yeah.
This is your big event. And a fake title headlines over the women's strawweight title.
Got to bring the Rock in.
He's
He's on the board now, right?
He's on the TKO board. I don't know what he would be doing with the UFC. But
Well, he presented the original BMF belt.
yeah.
So you got to bring him back to also do that and wrap it around.
But it's like if I'm there's two things that I'm very curious about. I'm going off the beaten path. One, if I'm in a heavier weight class, where's my BMF title? Fuck these small guys.
Yeah, that's true.
If I'm Alex Pereira, it's like, where the fuck is mine at?
Yeah.
If I'm Yuri Prochazka, where's mine at?
Yeah, they should have that one. It's clearly the BMF, bad motherfucker title. But they need like a big motherfucker title.
Yeah, there's no other BMF.
Yeah.
Like I would be actively complaining because I'm like, yo, because they're getting paid pay-per-view points.
BBMF title?
Call it whatever the fuck you want.
Big bad motherfucker title.
But it's like these little guys get this one. And if I'm the women, I'm doing the same fucking thing. Where's my BMF title?
There should be a women's BMF.
Like, you know the main event is this week. Is it this week? Rose Namajunas?
No, that's not this week.
Is that next week? No, it's not next week.
Not next week either.
Rose Namajunas is headlining a UFC fight night, bro.
That's a long ways away.
Is it that far away?
Yeah, pretty damn
I haven't looked at the schedule because I just stopped.
Dre is at the end of March.
Jesus Christ.
March 23rd, Rivas, Rose Namajunas.
It's main eventing in the Apex.
Yep, right. But yeah, no,
That's Rose Namajunas.
it's a pretty good card. Muhammad Usman's on that card. Was Parkin, who's undefeated.
Pretty good card.
Peyton Talbot is a
Mm,
good prospect.
I'm paying to see that.
No one's paid to see this. It's an Apex.
But that's my point.
Do people pay to get into the Apex?
They
Nick,
do. Some people do.
Oh, there's tickets.
There's like a thing.
Thought you had to know somebody.
There's like a lottery type of thing too for some of those seats, but people pay. People want to go to that shit. But that's my point. It's like
great
yo,
venue to watch fights.
like Rose Namajunas is fighting in a fucking gym.
Yep.
In a training facility.
Life comes at you fast, bro.
But Holly Holm is at UFC 300 against the hottest women's free agent in the sport because they like her. It ain't because it's not because of accomplishments.
No, but they're kind of feeding her to someone too. So
Maybe.
if that's your idea of liking me, don't like me.
Dude, but they'll feed her, and guess what?
It won't hurt her.
She'll get another fight.
Yep.
She'll headline another UFC fight night against somebody else.
She's made a nice little career for herself.
Off of what?
Off of a head kick.
Off of one head kick on Ronda Rousey.
That's one hell of a head kick.
Like,
Is that the greatest head kick in UFC history? Gotta be. It's the
not.
most meaningful.
It's the most significant, yes. But
That
it's a good question. Here's a good question.
Anderson Silva's straight front face kick is up there, but like
The Vita Belfort one,
Yeah.
the Lyoto Machida one, we knocked Randy Couture's tooth out, is also up there. The Edson Barbosa spinning heel kick.
no, that looked better.
Very into him.
But it didn't hold
Like
the meaning.
significance.
Yes.
Yeah, the significant part of it, yes. The head kick heard around the
Yeah,
world.
Leon Edwards headshot dead.
Kamara,
Head
yeah.
kick is also pretty good.
Is Holly Holm a bigger star than Amanda Nunes?
In this sport, yes.
Crazy.
You know why. Stop it.
Just
To
asking.
that audience,
Just asking.
she brings something that's very, I don't want to say safe, very relatable.
Very vanilla.
And the moniker of the preacher's daughter, there's shit people can kind of get behind with Holly Holm, where, yeah, she was the perfect person to beat Ronda Rousey because they could market her, and they've made a lot of money off of her. Amanda Nunes beating Ronda is an afterthought. No one mentions that unless you say head movement. Like, you don't even remember that for Amanda Nunes. And Amanda would have beat the brakes off her if they fed her to her at the same time they fed her to Holly. They signed Holly specifically to get Ronda the hell out of here. Or try.
They signed her because Ronda was trying to be a fucking boxer.
Yeah, and it was the threat.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, this person has skills that may give Ronda trouble, blah, blah, for a year or two before Holly even got there. They signed her because people were like, this woman could be Ronda Rousey. And then she did, and it was like, cool. Everything she did after that did him no favor, but it did enough because Ronda was gone, but you pay Holly a lot less, and she kind of still has that mystique. So she took that from Ronda enough where she made you a lot of money just by beating Ronda. Amanda, they didn't push Amanda the same.
Nope.
And the audience cannot relate to Amanda Nunes. Nope. The biggest thing you can say about UFC fans in a nice way about Amanda Nunes is that, and this is horrible, so it's a shitty thing to say, but it's the nicest thing you can say about them, is that they ignored that she was gay. They ignored that she was a lesbian woman. Yep. They didn't badger her about it. They didn't want to hear about it. But even because her wife is a fighter and they have a child, they were like, I understand it. Cool. Your wife's a fighter, come in the ring, blah, blah. But it was never really super celebrated how it should have been. And the fans couldn't relate to that. I hardly believe a lot of them, that's against their beliefs.
Yeah.
The biggest thing they did was just ignore it and just say, all right, whatever. Because if it was, I'll tell you this, if it was a male openly gay fighter and he beat probably, what did Amanda beat? Every great woman to ever compete in the UFC?
Everyone.
If an openly gay male fighter, they would berate him. Mm-hmm. There'd be homophobic chants in the building.
Sure.
It'd be a bunch of Andrew Tate rhetoric. We saw Sean Strickland say if you have a gay son, you should be embarrassed.
Yeah.
All this. Imagine a gay champion, openly male gay champion.
Not in this environment.
I'd pay money to see that shit and him just knock the block off of Sean Strickland.
But all this leads to my point. Holly Holm has headlined more events, not pay-per-views, than Amanda Nunes off of one thing. Now, to circle all the way back, and then we can talk about the rest of the stuff. This is the reason why the UFC doesn't care about building stars. The sport is far too volatile to invest in one person.
Yeah. The biggest thing that hurt Conor is he can't win anymore.
No, yeah, that's the thing. Like in boxing, you can protect.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, we're going to book you against such and such. Unless you're Ryan Garcia who wants to fight everybody, but you were like, nah,
sooner or later, they'll protect him too. They'll let him take his losses.
They're going to have to at some point. But it's
rebuild.
Like the UFC, MMA, you can't do that. It's too volatile. So if I push all my chips in on Conor McGregor, they ain't losing to Nate Diaz.
Yep.
It's like, all right, let's take these chips back. Right? Well, let's try again. Habib beat Conor. I was like, all right, let's take our chips back. The biggest
Poirier fight, people got right back up.
Right. And they were like,
Poirier beat him twice.
I was like, all right, we're going to take our chips back. You can't invest in a star because creating a star, because Sean O'Malley's going to fucking lose.
Yeah.
If it ain't to Cheeto Vera, he's losing his very next fight.
Izzy's a star, and he's lost 3 times in like the past 3 years.
How about this? The UFC, there is no champion, aside from Volkanovski, who has defended the title more than twice in any weight class right now.
Yeah. And Volk is lost.
And Volk is lost.
In between that.
Volk
just didn't lose his title.
Yeah, he just didn't lose the title.
But he lost, as great as he is.
So there's no champion on the roster right now that has had 3 successful title defenses. Islam Makhachev is probably your most dominant champion. But that's how volatile the sport is. So,
and much like Habib is weird because it took a long time because people are like, oh, I don't really like him, blah, blah. And then he beats Conor and he gets the Conor rub and then he becomes like a cult hero to the fan base. But outside of that, like, Islam's not going to get that same rub.
No.
And again, the fan base can't relate to a devout Muslim guy being your champion.
No.
It's not their thing. They can ignore it and they can root for him in spite of it. And they can just be cordial, but they're not going to be behind him
No. Like your longest reigning champions right now are Islam Makhachev, Leon Edwards, Weili Zhang. Weili Zhang? Should be Carlos Esparza.
No, Whaley had just lost not too long ago.
Yeah, she did.
But she's still one of the longest reigning. I think your thing's
This is my point. Like,
because the other belts just
Grasso just beat Shevchenko. Like, you look at this lineup of fighters. Ari Man was like, let's create a star. And Dan's like, how?
Yep.
Like, how? I'm putting who I think will be the next women's champion, Kayla Harrison, in here with Holly Holm. She could very well lose that fight.
get head kicked to hell.
Right? Like,
You
it
just
could
saw her
happen.
lose a fight.
Like Aljamain Sterling was just the champion. He's fighting Calvin Kattar. Merab looks like the guy who's going to be the champion at bantamweight. Like, do we really trust O'Malley? And O'Malley's going to ask for a boxing match.
Yep.
If O'Malley beats Cheeto Vera, O'Malley's going to be knocking at that door. I want to fight Tank.
Tank, Ryan.
And it's like, what are we talking about, bro? You're gonna lose your next fight. It's too volatile. The UFC is not going to invest in champions because there's nothing to invest in. They don't hang around. The only champion you could invest in is John Jones.
Yeah. He just got injured. Like, damn
Just
shit.
saying, the motherfucker can't stay out of trouble, but
He'll probably be International Fight Week, by the way.
yeah. But
I think he'll be healthy enough by then to have him Stipe International Fight.
if the UFC understood how to market John Jones, even with all his transgressions, even with all the shit that happened, this dude, they should treat him like God. Because nobody goes undefeated for that long.
Too late.
They blew it.
Yeah, it's too late.
They blew it.
You got to find the next one.
They ain't gonna find the next one.
No,
I don't
not
think
yet.
there'll ever be another John Jones.
And this sport is very tough.
It's too hard.
Yeah.
It's matchmaking issues.
They're hoping a guy like Bo Nickel can be.
He'll lose.
I think so,
They'll
too.
run him up the ladder. He's gonna lose. Like
Maybe.
even Islam Makhachev has lost.
I don't know if Bo Nickel's going to lose. It's going to be a while.
If they have Bo Nickel fight Hamza Chimaev, Bo Nickel's gonna lose.
Sure. For right now,
But
like,
that-
in
but
2
that-
years,
I'm just saying, but
Bo might got it.
the UFC doesn't do this. Let's build him up. Like, this is about as much building up Bo Nickel's about to get. He'll probably fight 2 more fights, and they're gonna rank him in the top 10, and they're gonna run him up the ladder.
once
and
they light it,
And
it's
they're gonna
over.
hope for the best. And you're like, please win.
That's it.
Because he is their great white hope right now, Bo Nickel, by far. He is the guy that they want to run up the ladder with the American flag and shit.
Yep.
But he's gonna fuck around and lose. So then Dana White's gonna be like, "This is why I don't
Fair,
build
I'm putting
stars."
no one in there with Hamza.
But that's what I'm saying.
I bet the far one Hamza, but he's not a star. But not
No.
in that company.
And he almost lost to Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns gave him hell.
Yeah. He should be a star, but did not.
He should. This is not what the UFC. This is not the business of the UFC. The business of the UFC is like
Villain Hamza has some potential.
It does,
we
but
know what.
we're taking one fighter versus another fighter. We're going to put him in there, and then you guys are watching the fight. Fuck the fighters. That's why Poirier was going to fight Benoit Saint Denis. What the fuck is Poirier doing fighting that guy? Like, that's crazy. Like,
Beat Connor twice.
yeah, like, and I'm fighting him now
Who is this guy?
in a 5-round, like, non-main event for nothing?
Yeah.
It's the UFC. It's how they handle business. Some people love it. Yeah.
It's interesting. We'll see how it plays out in the next 5 years, not building stars. Because everything's great and your sport is great, and people, again, when people love your sport, they love it. But are you building new fans? Is it hot? You know who did that same shit? Baseball.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know what? We have stars. Steroids kind of bad. We got to clean this shit up. They had a lot less stars.
Yeah.
And then it was just like,
No, baseball has a whole lot of issues.
And then, but it's America's pastime. People are just going to show up and love baseball.
No, they're not. Go to Tropicana Field.
They are not. And the UFC could run into that same problem in 5 years.
They could.
Where it's just like, we had stars and we thought it was just a brand. And who cares about McGuire or Bonds? They're not going to be a Hall of Fame, blah, blah. Clement, all right. They had Jeter and all this stuff, trying to make Jeter, okay, but he's not hitting a million home runs. We've seen this.
Yeah.
Like, we fell in love with the star power. Now you don't have any. Now it's like, okay, Mike Trout. Like, okay, but he's not Bonds. He's not packaged like that. It ain't sexy.
No.
So what are we? Oh, pitching is going to be great. We're out here watching 2-0 games. Like, what are you? And young people are just like, this shit ain't hot. The next thing you know, the sport's still around. You're going to have a sport. They're still spending money hand over fist. But it's like, you guys aren't what you were. You're not cool. You're not hot. And the UFC can find themselves in that same place, taken for granted and thinking, oh, the sport's just good enough that people are going to love it.
Yeah. I agree.
No, people fell in love with this. You can attribute 30, 40% of your casual fan base to Conor McGregor and Ronda Rousey.
Yes.
Maybe more. I might be lowballing that shit of casual fans, of people who've never seen an Anderson Silva fight,
Oh, yeah.
let alone a fight before then.
Mhm.
You know, like no fucking clue, but they know Ronda and Conor. And you're not building that. You're not getting that again.
Yeah.
And you have to. That should be the goal. Real quick, before we invite our guest on, we have Randy Brown from UFC fighting this weekend here to talk with us. We're just going to talk about a couple of the fights coming up. Roman Dolidze fighting this weekend. MothaF, that's the main event.
That's my point.
I think Roman should win that
It's
one.
like a $16.75 main event. I can order a fat burger.
I don't even know what they're ranked.
Roman's like top 10.
Yeah, like
MothaF is, I think he's
MothaF's
outside
like,
top 10.
yeah, like
But this is
like 13.
This is your main event.
Moicano versus Drew Dober.
It's a good fight. Renato Moicano, Drew Dober fight's a good fight.
It's weird. Drew Dober's always too handsome to just be
I know.
bloody and beat up.
I don't know
every
how he
fight.
made his
I don't
chin
know.
like that.
Like,
Like,
if I was that handsome, like he's a handsome fellow.
Yeah, he
I'm not
always-
getting punched in the face.
no, he'd be combing his hair and shit. Like,
Yeah. And then Randy Brown, Salikov, and that other one. Randy looking to build another winning streak, so we'll talk to him about that. But yeah, the card's not like super stacked this weekend. This is just like, hey, there's some fights.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, what do you want to do before Super Bowl week? You
Yep.
want to watch some fights? Sure.
Ain't nothing else on.
Yeah, like Conor Ben is fighting in boxing at like noon in Vegas at the Cosmo.
Is that this weekend?
That is this weekend.
I didn't apply for credentials for that.
I did, but I'm not going.
Oh, okay.
I looked at it. I was like, what time? I got to go to a funeral. And I was like,
Oh, shit.
I don't want to go to that shit.
Interesting.
The only,
Why do I get free tickets to that?
I mean, I don't anticipate. It's an early fight because they're treating it like a UK fight.
Yeah.
But I was like, this
Very
is
odd. And then next week, because we won't be in studio, Jack Hermanson versus Joe Pyfer, main event.
I mean, they're trying to build Pfeiffer up, so I get it. He should win that fight, but I don't care. I don't think anybody cares. Super Bowl week. Anybody? I mean, there's going to be a few people that are going to pull up to the Apex, and that's what the UFC is banking on. Like, what can we get Max Crosby to come through? Like, that's what they're looking at.
Yeah,
What,
just something to do on Saturday.
yeah, we ain't got shit. We'll be at Collision.
Andre Touchy-Feely's on that.
Yeah,
We will be at Collision.
we'll be at
But same thing, AEW is just like, yo, maybe some people just pulled through.
Yeah, just, hey, people are here, so why not?
That's
Like
it.
wrestling, George Kittle might pull up, and he's not going to pull up. But
Michael Johnson's on that card.
see, he's still here.
Still around.
Ringing bells.
22 and 19. He's the most curious. Like, every time he fights, I'm just like, yo, he has the craziest resume in UFC.
Dude, he knocked out Dustin Poirier.
Wow.
He's still here.
He put the hands on Khabib before he got choked out.
Yep.
And for a lot of time. I'm not sure anyone's hit Khabib like he hit Khabib
No,
to this day.
And then, yeah,
And then he just baffles me by losing to the worst people.
that's how he functions.
It's wild. So, yeah, those are the next 2 weeks. We're going to hit a quick break.
Wait, before we do that, because I mentioned it. I did mention the Pablo Torre and Ariel Helwani
You did.
interview. And I don't want to spend too much time on it. I just want people to watch it. Pablo's podcast. Ariel makes this very good point. Ariel's great at this. The point I was talking about is like hate speech is what's the freedom of speech. Ariel's like, the history of the UFC, like Dana's lying, basically. And he had receipts of interviews he did with Dana. And I almost forgot. Remember Matt Mitrione?
Yeah, what about him?
Remember him getting suspended? Do you remember what he got suspended for?
No.
Calling Fallon Fox a freak. And Dana White, in an interview with Ariel Helwani, said, we don't need that kind of language in the UFC. Keep your beliefs at home. We don't need you to voice that. When Yoel Romero talked about, still to this day, we don't know if he said gay Jesus or good Jesus.
Yeah.
Remember that post-fight interview? Dana White, in an interview, said, we don't care about your religion. Keep that shit at home. Don't talk about it here. I've mentioned before, Miguel Torres got fired for the rape van tweet.
Yep.
Who else did he bring up? So Mitrione, somebody else he brought up because it's bad for sponsors. Dana brings this up. You shouldn't talk. And it was like the most sensible version of Dana White I had ever seen. And I was like, I forgot about this.
Yep.
He changed his tune with Trump. 2020. Trump becomes president, and you watch how Dana White starts to change to this freedom of speech character. In 2020, when Dana's trying to put on those events, and the media was like, don't do that. It's kind of reckless. Then Dana starts going, we should do whatever we want. But the fact that Dana now says freedom of speech, you say what you want, has been a lie for at least 10 years. And it's great. Like, I advise everybody to watch the interview because Pablo Torre sets it up and Ariel knocks him down. And you watch how they pull all this together. And then the bigger point that it's like, well, who's freedom of speech? Because Ariel's like, I got fired from Fox because I was doing my journalistic duties.
Yep.
You're silencing me. That's not freedom. It's like, I'm not breaking business news. I'm breaking fight news. And I got fired because Lorenzo Fertitta wanted me out of the company. When he got kicked out of the building for announcing the Brock Lesnar news, which everybody found out 5 minutes later anyway, that's violating his freedom of speech. Why can't he say that? He wasn't told not to tell anybody. He confirmed everything just like Woj or Adam Schefter would do. And they was like, you can't do that. You're out of here. We're going to pull your credential. So I advise everybody to watch it because anybody who was on the fence when they listened to us talk about it, watch Ariel and Pablo Torre break down this freedom of speech thing, and then you'll go, this is fucked up. It ain't freedom of speech. It's the freedom to say what we want you to say.
Yep.
It's crazy.
It's all on the agenda. I can't wait. I'll watch it right after this because it's one of those things where, once Trump became a thing and Dana started going on the political campaign trail, he just naturally adopted a lot of those same ideologies.
Yep.
And a lot of the same lingo. And he says stuff like woke. And he, like, all the vernacular, all this stuff, he just adopted it from that campaign and, like, the MAGA rhetoric, because that's what he was around.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not freedom of speech. It's freedom to do what your friends do.
Yep. Do what I wanted if you're Dana White. So, no, we'll take our quick break now. Again, you guys stay tuned. Randy Brown's joining us. Always hilarious. Always great. My man's Jamaican. Lives in Queens. Connection there automatically. We're going to ask him about his fight this weekend and, what it's like. He went on a great run in the UFC, took a tough loss, and now he's bouncing back, trying to go on another good run. Ask him what he learned from that and where he sees his future in the UFC. So don't go anywhere. Be right back right after this.